Okay, friends, welcome, welcome. I hope you guys have had a fabulous day. We're going to start things out up on our feet today. So as you come up to standing, you can line your feet up on parallel, a hip bone distance, or bring your big toes together and then just put a little bit of space back between your heels. Take a moment just to really lengthen up through your spine and roll your shoulders out. So you could bend through your knees, kind of squat down and then straighten back up, roll the shoulder heads out, and then just relax the weight of your arms. At this point, I'll invite you to close your eyes. Check the knees aren't locked. You've got a little bit of softness in them. Feel free to start deepening the breath. And then peel all 10 toes up off the ground, spreading out through your feet. It might be nice to shift the weight between your left foot and your right foot for a moment. And then when you do bring your toes back into the mat, feel spread out into all corners of your feet. Take that big exhale and just release all the way down to empty. And then from the bottom of the breath, start to inhale down into the low belly and low back, carving the breath up into the mid-abdomen and the mid-back. And then biggest breath you've taken today, coming all the way up to the top of the torso into your chest and your shoulders. Hold on to it and relax. And then take a big exhale, just release it back out. Once you're down to the bottom of the breath, let's carve out and breathe into the low belly and low back. And then hold your breath there. Breathe into your mid-abdomen to your mid-back. Hold there. Fill all the way up to your chest, all the way to your shoulders. Once you've got that full breath, just relax, hold on to it. And then this time, pace the exhale out. So exhale for 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take a big inhale through your nose, slow and deep, like you're sipping the air in through a straw, hitting the bottom, hitting the top. And then on the exhale, ride it out through the nose. So exhale through the nose down to empty, like you're fogging up a mirror and just slowly controlling down. This is our Ujjayi breathing, and this is what I'll invite you to use for the rest of your practice. In this practice, we are working on our mindfulness, which you are connecting to right now just by controlling your breath. We're going to work on our balance, our flexibility, and our strength. Through all of that, I want you to allow your breath just to be your guide for your practice, and then simply take what works for me and leave the rest behind. Bring those eyes open up front to a soft gaze, and on an inhale, lengthen and lift your arms up tall. Breathe into mountain. And as you exhale, hinge out from your hips and control a swan dive down into your forward fold. Let your fingertips connect to the ground, and then give your head a slow nod, yes, and a slow side-to-side nod, no. With the weight heavy in the head and in the arms, vertebrae by vertebrae, roll back up to standing. Head is the last thing to stack up, and when it does, inhale to stretch your arms up tall. Breathe in, reach to the sky. And on the exhale, just take the hands down into your chest. Inhale to extend back up, breathe in. And on your exhale, bring your right hand down into your right hip, shift your hips to the left, and reach the left arm to the top corner of the right wall. You could twist through your hips, through your shoulders, or through your gaze while we lengthen through that outer left side body. An inhale can take you back up tall, maybe slightly arc backwards in space. And on the exhale, switch things out to just bring your left hand into your hip, shift your hips to the right, and reach your right arm to the top corner of the right wall. Again, feel free to twist through your hips or through your shoulders or through your gaze. Inhale to stretch up, breathe in tall. And on that exhale, hinge out from your hips, swan dive down into your forward fold. Inhale, halfway up, lengthen your spine parallel to the ground, press into your shins or thighs, slight bend through the knees. Use the core muscles to get strong into that lower back, and then tone your shoulder blades in towards one another, getting that upper spine nice and strengthened. One more inhale to lengthen and strengthen in that half lift. And on your exhale, refold. Reverse swan dive, inhaling arms wide and tall. Breathe in. And on your exhale, let's come down into our Utkatasana chair pose, your squat, reaching your sit bones back in space. Letting your shoulder blades gently tone together back behind one another. They don't have to press, but just feeling a little bit of that strengthening as you lift up through your chest. Feeling your core nice and strong, those glutes engaged. We've got the thighs, the hamstrings, we've got our calf muscles engaged. And then just bring hands into your chest, draw a deep breath in, and we'll take our twist over to the right on your exhale. So the left tricep just going to the top and outside of the right thigh. If you had skis on, double check that your skis are still going straight down the mountain. That's if your feet are at hip bone distance. If your big toes are together, you've got the knees and the thighs all pressing towards one another, the ankle bones pressing towards one another, holding strong. Feel free to open and extend that right arm up in space as your left arm opens on the outside of that right thigh. Beautiful, friends. Take that inhale, and on your exhale, just fold it forward. Inhale halfway up, lengthen through your spine, strengthen on it. Exhale, refold. Reverse swan dive. Inhale, extend up tall in space, mountain. And then Utkatasana chair pose on that exhale. Strengthen up through the body. Get nice and strong as you're in this squat. Bring hands into your chest. Draw that inhale. And when your exhale comes, we'll take our twist this time to the left. So your right elbow to the top and outside of that left thigh. As you press your palms together and you twist open to the side of the room, you could bring your chest up so your sternum is reaching towards the level that the knuckles of the thumbs are on. Nice, Sharsti. We can let that left arm open to the sky, twisting. Your right arm can go to the outside of your left leg. Take one more inhale here, and on the exhale, fold it forward. This time, just trying a ragdoll frame, feet at hip bone distance. Opposite hand to the outside of opposite elbow or bicep, gently swaying side to side. Weight of the head totally relaxed out in space here. We'll move this back to tabletop position. Start to work cat and cow. Those inhales to bow through your spine, dropping the belly and lifting the chest. Exhales to round the back, drop the head. And of course, you're welcome to hold one of those a little bit longer before you move on to the next. You could shift a little forwards and backwards in space. Your hips or shoulders could reach to the left or to the right. Awesome. Find that neutral flat back, hands and knees, and then keep your right palm down to the floor and pivoting with your right knee, turn your right toes off the right side of your mat. Stretch your left leg to the back of the mat and reach your left arm up tall in space. We're going to move this big side body stretch into more of a supported side plank by now reaching the left arm to the front of the room and then pressing your left foot into the wall back behind you, so lengthening the body from the front of the room to the back. Awesome, Kat. Friends, you stay here or we can move this into a bind. You can start to bend that back left knee. Bring the heel to your sit bone. Take your left hand to the top of the foot and then gently kick the foot into the hand. You want to feel that the foot is getting pulled back from your body. Your arm is getting pulled back from your body as you find that balance between kicking and pulling. Gaze could be opening to the left or even a little bit to the sky. On an inhale, open back up, re-extend. And as you exhale, come down into your tabletop position. Come back into hero's pose, or you could do a cross-legged position, hero's pose, top to the ground, knees. With forward like you were telling somebody to stop, and let the left hand just pull it back against the right fingertips. You can change the angle that you're reaching that hand. It doesn't have to go forward. It might stretch more down. You could also extend it up in space. And then point those right fingertips down. Let the left hand just grab onto the back of that right hand and give a gentle pull in. Right on. We'll take a little roll out through that right wrist. Reach your right arm up tall in space. Your left hand can come down to the ground at your side. And then we'll let the right hand grab the top left side of the head and gently pull that right ear in towards the shoulder. If you let the chin come up in space, even walk your fingers a little forward, you'll get the front left edge of your neck. Or if you let your chin come forward and down and walk your fingers a little bit back, you'll find the back left edge of your neck. Nice. If you can press your head up, peace sign fingers of your right hand to the temple, or just lift your head upright in space. Any little motions. We'll come to the other side in just a moment, but come back into that tabletop. Find a few more rounds in your cat and in your cow. Awesome. Find that neutral flat back. This time with your left hand under your shoulder, pivoting with your left knee. Turn the left toes off the left side of your mat. Stretch the right leg to the back of the mat and reach your right arm up tall in space. So we're going to start with this big side body stretch, and then start to reach your right foot off the ground. Press your heel to the wall behind you and reach your right fingertips forward so your bicep is coming in towards your ear. We're in this supported side plank. Beautiful. Stay here or we get the other side of that bind. So bending your right knee, bringing your heel to your sit bone, taking your hand to the top of the foot, giving a gentle kick of the foot into the hand. Nice, John. We're going to use that breath for balance. We can find an object that's not moving to focus the gaze on. Just stay playful with your balance. If you fall out of it, no worries. On an inhale, open up, re-extend. That exhale is coming down into your tabletop. You're coming back to hero's pose or into a cross-legged position. We'll take the palm of the left hand forward in space, and then the right hand can just gently pull back. And again, you can change where that hand is pointing. Awesome. Reach those left fingertips down so the back of the hand is facing forward. Right hand comes and just grabs onto the back of the hand, giving a gentle pull and stretch. And then you can release and just give a roll out through your left wrist. Right hand can be to your hip, to your leg, or to your side. Inhale that left arm up in space. And then on that exhale, the left hand is going to grab the top right side of your head and gently pull the left ear towards the left shoulders, lengthening out the right side of the neck. Explore those edges, maybe lifting the chin up, letting your fingertips come forward. or letting the chin come down, working the fingers more to the back of the head. And again, you can just bring your head upright, or the peace sign fingers of your left hand can give the left temple a little bit of a press. Take any other little movements you want through your head. We're going to stretch back into a plank position. So bringing your palms under your shoulders, stepping the toes to the back of your mat. Inhale at the top of the plank. You can do this on your knees with your ankles crossed as well. Exhale brings us halfway to Chaturanga Dandasana, leading forward with the sternum. Inhale to the top of your plank and shift back into down dog. Let your left heel pull towards the ground as you bend your right knee. You might pull your right hip back away from that left hand. Breathe in, full down dog. On your exhale, shift forward to your plank on the toes or the knees with the ankles crossed, and exhale takes you halfway down. Inhale lifts you back up tall in space, plank. Exhale, downward facing dog. Let your right heel pull down towards the ground, bend your left knee. Your left hip could pull back up away from that right hand. Breathe in, full down dog. On the exhale, shift forward to your plank. Slowly lower all the way to the belly. Make sure your hips can comfortably press to the ground. For our Bhujangasana, our low cobra, we bring the chin down. Tops of the feet are to the floor. You've got the palms right underneath the shoulders. You slide them a little bit lower down the torso to frame those mid-low ribs. And then squeeze your shoulders in as you start to pull the chest up off the ground. And it's less about pressing and more about lifting up through those snake muscles of the body. Keep that length through the back of your neck, chin slightly back in towards your throat. Feel that press down through your legs, down through your hips. Right on, Alyssa. When you're ready, we can lower it down, friends. Tuck the toes. Make your way to your plank or your tabletop, and then shift back and find that down dog. On an inhale, reach and extend your right leg to the top corner of the back wall to a three-legged down dog, letting the front of your right hip bone point down and back in space. Stamp your heel back up to the top corner of that right wall. Awesome. On an exhale, bring the knee to your forehead, forehead into your knee. Let the hips get high in space. Lift that back heel super high off the ground. So you're just on the ball of the left foot, curling your way in. Then let's work the right foot up in between the hands. Get a nice long, low lunge. Drop the knife edge of your left foot to the ground and come into our warrior two. That stance is long enough that you're feeling a stretch through your legs while you're here. And then as we lower a little bit to it, you're feeling the engagement. We're bringing that right knee right over the right heel, the right sit bone right underneath the body. Spine's up nice and tall in space. You can relax those shoulder heads out. Reach out through your arms, gazes forward. Feel the grip down into your yoga mat. Those legs pressing down and gently pulling back in a little bit at the same time. All that nice stabilizing going on through the body here. For your extended side angle pose, on an exhale, just hinge forward. Let the right forearm press to the right thigh as your left arm reaches up in space. Or you could take the back of the right arm down the inside of the right leg. So the back of your elbow is into the inside of the knee. The back of the forearm, inside of the calf. Your fingers are pretty much touching your ankle, just kind of hovering off the ground, and that same opening through your chest. We're always checking in our extended side angle pose as we hinge forward that our back left hip's not lifting up in space. on the same level as that right hip. Awesome, Park. On an inhale, friends, take a star. All 10 toes face that left wall, arms open up, breathe in. And then a squat, a wide-legged squat. So bring your heels in underneath your knees, your feet are at 45. Land your hands onto your thighs. Give your hips a little bit of a side to side. It might help you adjust a little bit of your stance. And then we're gonna do these twists. So inhale to reach your spine up tall. And on your exhale, twist to the back of the room. So press off your right thigh. Twist to the back of the room. Inhale to reach the spine back up tall. And on your exhale, twist to the front of the room. Press off that left thigh, or whatever way we didn't do last time. Excellent. So inhale back up into your star shape. And on your exhale, you're just going to swan dive all the way down into your forward fold. Inhale halfway up. You can press your fingertips to the ground, to your hips. Exhale to refold. And then you could pull the mat behind you or in front of you, or start to grab onto the outside of the ankles or peace sign fingers to the inside of the big toes or the outside edges of the feet. Feel your feet pressing to the ground, your hips lifting up in space, and your spine getting to flow down from there and getting a little bit of that traction, a little bit of that pull through your arms. Most of all, just inviting the weight of your head to relax out. Letting the weight of your spine flow down from your hips and finding that breathing. Then for Skandasana, our left leg, you're going to start to walk your hands backwards a little bit and stay. Squat into that left leg and then turn onto your right heel so you're pointing forward towards the front of the room. So squatting in that back left leg and then pointing that on the right heel, pointing your toes up in space. You can have hands to the ground. You could also lift hands more up into your chest. Beautiful, friends. You're just going to walk that up into a low lunge position. So both hands are framing that right foot, ball of the left foot to the ground behind us. Excellent. Bring your gaze up. Inhale to a high crescent lunge. Let those thighs tone in towards one another, that back left heel off the ground, pointing back behind us. And that same thing in like Warrior 2, where you're pressing out and down, and then you're also stabilizing back and in. All right. On an exhale, this is just a flying lunge. So reach your arms back and lift your chest up. Nice, Melanie. And then we're poised here to go into one-legged mountain. So when you're ready, you're going to take that lift up onto your right leg. We might get exactly where we want to, or it might be in a couple moves versus just the one. That left knee up nice and tall in space. You can just leave the left leg right here, or you can start to, as you lift your thigh up, press the ball of the foot forward. Check back in with that breathing. We're trying to avoid leaning back. We're trying to get more of a press down into the right leg and more of a press forward through the left. Okay, try to come back into that flying lunge. So breathe in, and on your exhale, hands reaching back, left leg reaching back. Awesome, friends. So we're going to end the sequence moving into our half moon. So we've got the right leg out in front. I'll just kind of side profile here. You can use a block on level 3, like 6 to 8 inches in front of your right foot. Or I'm going to start with my fingertips to the ground. Back left leg lifts off the ground. I'm pointing the heel to the back wall, pointing my toes to the left wall. And then that left arm is lifting up nice and tall in space. And just depending on where you're at with this might be a perfect place to stay. If you like to try the bind here, you could bring that left knee into your chest, take the left hand to the top of the foot, and then gently kick the foot into the hand. Similar to what we did at that tabletop position earlier. Awesome, Amy. And before any love is lost, friends, just bring it back into that low lunge position. I want you to step back and find child's pose. So you come back to a tabletop. Take your knees out wide towards the edges of your mat. Sit bones back to your heels. Forehead down to the ground. Arms lengthened out in front of you. Last couple rounds of breath here. Excellent, friends. We'll meet up in a plank position. You can choose to stay right here, or from your plank, we can exhale halfway down, get to the tops of the feet, inhale upward facing dog, and then tuck through our toes and reach back into our down dog. Let the left leg extend back and up in space to a 3-legged down dog, top corner of the back wall. Pressing into those circle of the palms, letting the biceps tone in, weight of the head relaxed. Nice, Jordan. And on an exhale, curl your knee to your forehead into your knee. The back right heel lifts high. You're on the ball of the right foot. Get that left foot up in between your hands. Find a long, low lunge. And let the knife edge of your right foot come down to the ground. We'll find our warrior 2, right arm reaching back in space, left arm extending forward. Again, getting that left knee to point forward, feeling your left sit bone right underneath your body, your spine up nice and tall in space, opening through your chest and your arms. And the length of that stance, providing that big stretch out through your hips. Providing the length of the stance, also providing us the ability to really get strong into our legs as we drop low. Awesome, Amy. Next, exhale, just find your extended side angle pose. So left forearm to your left thigh. Right arm can lift straight up in space. If you did that variation on the other side, you'll drop the back of the left arm to the inside of the left leg, so your elbow's back into the knee. Back of the forearm inside of the calf. Fingers right down to the inside of the ankle. Letting that back right hip just lower on level with the left as you extend up through the fingertips. We inhale to rise up into that star shape, this time facing to the right wall, so all 10 toes, arms open up, breathe in. And on your exhale, come into your wide-legged squat position. Again, bring your hands to your thighs and just give a little side-to-side movement through your hips here. helping you to kind of figure out the width of your stance, the positioning of your feet. And then we're gonna go for our hold. You wanna feel your thighs taking that little rotate up and back as you root down into all corners of the feet. The sit bones are dropping back in space. Hands can be to your thighs. You could bring your hands to your chest. You could also open your arms to the front of the room in the back. Gently tone those shoulder blades back in towards one another. If you want, lift the heels off the mat on the balls of the feet. Feet might come in a little closer for that one. Find that breathing. Awesome, friends. Take your legs out wide to that star. Inhale your arms up, and on your exhale, just hinge out from your hips and take your swan dive all the way down into your forward fold. Inhale halfway up to lengthen. Perfect. Now, as we're lengthening right here, you can start to fly your arms out to the sides of the front and back of the wall of the room. From there, you could interlace your fingers at the knuckles and then let your knuckles reach to the sky as you bow forward. Clasped hands just reaching out, stretching through the shoulders. Feel the feet pressing to the ground, those hips still getting to lift up in space. And again, just that focus on letting the weight of your head relax, weight of your torso relax, feeling that stretch through your shoulders, staying with your breathing. Release the hands down to our mat. And then we'll take Skandasana, this time squatting in the right leg, turning onto the left heel, or whatever side you didn't do last time. As you squat into that back leg, hands can stay to the ground, or you can bring hands into your heart center here. There's a lot of stretching and a lot of strengthening and balance all at once with this. Walking into your low lunge at the top of the mat. Both hands framing your left foot, ball the right foot behind you, and then use that to lift up into your high crescent lunge. Get those fingertips high in space. Back right heel off the ground on the ball of your right foot. Okay, breathe in where you're at, and on your exhale, you're gonna bow forward and reach your fingers back. So there's a big diagonal line in this flying lunge from your back right leg through your spine, and the arms are reaching down that diagonal. We're poised for our one-legged mountain, so on an inhale, lift arms, lift right knee, pull it up tall, reach the fingertips to the sky. Perfect. So stay right here. Or as we press down into the left leg, and especially the ball of your left foot, you can extend that right leg forward in space as you lift up to your thigh. And again, we're trying to avoid that lean back, right? That press down and that press forward. On an exhale, try that flying lunge. Reach your arms back. Right on. Okay, perfect. So we're going to get into the other side of our half moon. So if you need to take a little break with your legs out of your lunge position, we can for a second. What we're thinking about is we're using a block. It's just going out in front of that left foot. 6 to 12 inches, to the point basically where whether you're using the block or your fingers, once you're standing on your front left leg and your right leg is lifted, the hand is underneath your shoulder. You're pressing your heel into that wall back behind you and reaching those right fingers high in space. Okay, if that bind was in the cards for you, You can bring the right knee in towards the chest. Take your hand to the top of the foot, and then gently kick the foot into the hand. Nice breathing. Inhale to open if you're bound. Exhale down into that low lunge position. From that low lunge position, let's just find a downward facing dog, stretching the hips up and back in space. Awesome. Let the knees touch down. Bring one of your hips to the ground, swing your legs forward. And then we're going to do some work for our core muscles. This is going to be some holding. So if you need a sip of water, this is a good time to grab it. The first place we're going to go is on our backs, legs straight up in space. So meet me here when you're ready. Grab your hamstrings, and then pull against the hamstrings to lift up through your chest. The next piece is reaching your arms directly up in space. So your gaze is forward. Low back is down, hips are down. You could always take one hand behind the base of your skull if you like. Just for a little support for the neck. Okay, now interlace both hands behind the base of your skull, and you're going to let the legs come down to a bit of a diagonal, letting that low back press and root into the ground. Using that breathing. Bend your knees, grab your hamstrings, lift up to your sit bones. We're in our seated balance, our boat pose. Lift up nice and tall, and then cross your ankles. You'll bring the back of that left forearm to press to the outside of your right thigh, and just open your right arm out to the side. Lift up through your chest, or lift up through your spine, open through your chest while you're here. Beautiful. Come back to center. Last piece we're doing, cross your ankles the other way. Back of your right forearm outside of that left thigh, opening the left arm to the side, and then lifting up through that chest. Lengthening back up through your spine. Release back to center. We're going to do a big stretch out in Sphinx pose. You're going to come all the way forward. You can go to a plank if you'd like. Let those hips come down into the ground. And then root into your forearms and lift up through your chest. Feel that stretch through your low back. Feel that big stretch through your abdominal wall. If you'd like, turn your gaze across your right shoulder. Feeling a little stretch through your neck while we're here. And then across the left shoulder. Come back to center, find that big lift up, and then we'll just lay out at the beach for a moment, right? Relax the head and the arms. You can pick your feet up in space, start to draw little windshield wiper circles. You're also set up, though, if you'd like to move into Dhanurasana, your heels are in towards your sit bones. You can reach your hands back for the tops of your feet. This is bow pose. And then your legs kick back as your thighs press down. Arms pull taut, chest lifts. And eventually, we then start to find those thighs up off the ground as well. Finding that natural length through the back of the neck. So not straining, chin slightly back in towards throat. Knees staying at hip bone distance. So a little bit of inner tone. Beautiful, friends. The release is letting go. Palms under your shoulders, tucking the toes, tabletop or plank to down dog. Inhale the right leg to the top corner of the back wall, three-legged down dog. And on an exhale, open the hip and bend the knee. Drape the toes down over to the left as your knee lifts up in space. And then on an exhale, cross that right shin to the top of your mat. Lift up to your fingertips. Bring your chest up. Walk the left leg back a little bit. You want the right knee nice and wide to the outside of that right hand. You can stay on the fingertips. If you're feeling that strength of your legs down and into the mat, you also might find a little bit of a lift, hands to your hips. Or interlocking your fingers at your knuckles and then extending those knuckles back in space as the elbows slightly bend and triceps lift. And then from that nice upward facing pigeon, when you're ready for it, you can bring the hands to the ground. Start to lower your chest down. Bring your head down to your hands or to the mat. You can have the top of your right foot or the side of your right foot to the ground. Less intensity, angle that right knee a little bit away from the top of the mat. More intensity, bring that right shin a little more parallel with the top of your mat. Front of your left thigh pointing straight down to the ground. So hips are up on the same level with one another in space. Stay with that breath. Awesome, friends. Press up to your hands. Drop your right hip to the ground. Swing your legs forward in space. And then as you kind of give your right leg a little bit of a roll out or a little bit of bend through the knee, you'll bring the left foot to the inside of your right thigh like tree pose. Scooch onto the front edge of the sit bones. Bring your right hand out from your right hip and then back a little bit like you're pressing into it to bring yourself forward. Inhale the left arm up tall in space. We've got a little bit of flexion in that right foot already, and then you're ready for it. Just take that exhale to dive forward, connect to the outside of the foot, outside of the ankle, calf, or to the ground. Backwards, that also helps spine forward. We can always adjust bend in that right knee. You can add or subtract as you need to. Feel that spine just extending gently forward in space as the chest folds. Inhale those arms up. Bring the spine tall. On the exhale, just take your hands down to your chest. So take that left hand, just bring the palm back behind you so your fingers are pointing to the back of the room. We kind of already did this earlier in class, right? This is kind of that supported side plank. But you can twist your chest a little more open in space. We're not here for super long, just a nice little counter to that one-legged forward fold. In fact, as you're ready for it, lower those sit bones to the ground. And then we just need to come back forward into down dog as we start to set the left leg up. So from that down dog, your left leg lifts up tall, three-legged down dog. Open the hip and bend the knee, heel in towards the sit bones, knee to the sky, front of that hip bone pointing towards the left side of the room. Watch you're not sinking to the right shoulder, you're strong, and that your back right heel is not twisting to the right, it's pointing directly behind you. Exhale to cross this shin up to the top of our mat. Make that 7 shape with your legs for our pigeon. Come onto your fingertips, lift up through your spine, slide your right foot back a little bit, the top of it. And your sides might be totally different, right? So we get to treat the two sides of our body a little bit different to help bring them into balance. If it's working to come off the fingertips, hands to your hips, hands to your low back, or interlacing your fingers at the knuckles. Again, this is a big push down through your legs and then that squeeze back into center right here. Your fingertips are back. Think about bending your elbows just a little bit, those triceps lifting up. And when you're ready for it, friends, just take that upward facing pigeon, all that length, and you're set up and ready to lower forearms to the ground. Head to your hands or to the floor. And just those words of wisdom, right, that it's not about overdoing it. We're looking for that balanced level of sensation. We're looking to find that place where you're feeling that big stretch, you're into it, but we're not overextending on it. Excellent breathing. As we lift back up to the hands, we can just drop that left hip to the ground, bring the legs forward in space, and we're setting up this one-legged forward fold. But for a moment, right, just stretch your legs out. For a roll out through the ankles, maybe pump through your knees a little bit. And then leaving that left leg extended in space, right foot to the inside of the left thigh. Scooch onto the front edge of the sit bones. Left hand is coming a little bit out from the left hip and back so you can press into it. Inhale your right arm up from there. Find a little flexion in that right foot. And on the exhale, hinge out from the hips. Dive forward and connect to the outside of the foot or the leg. Again, play with that bend in your knee. Maybe a little bit more feels good, or maybe finding a little bit less in it, right? Something you can use to dial in the stretch for yourself. Think about the inhale as creating the space that on the exhale your body's getting to move into. Inhale to reach your arms wide, stretch tall, breathe in. On the exhale, you can just bring your hands down and into your chest. And then we're reaching the right hand back behind us. Your fingers are pointing behind you. Just take that little bit of a lift. Stretch through your left arm, through your left side body. And as we bring the sit bones back down to the ground, we're going to take the rest of class on our back. So you can just slide the hips up and then lower the weight down to your back. Once you get down to your back, you can just let the knees come into your chest, wrap your arms around your knees, and give yourself a little bit of that rock side to side. Massaging out the sacrum. At times, let your knees come a little further away from you. At times, bring the knees in a little closer towards you. Bring the feet to the ground, set up for your bridge. Knees are up in space, feet at hip bone distance. You can always stretch your hands down along your sides and step your heels in until your fingers touch your heels. That gets them right under the knees. Press down into your triceps, lift up through the hips. Try to get the hips on level with the thighs, with the knees almost, right? And then let the shoulder blades step in a little closer towards one another, making that shelf for your heart. We can interlace the fingers at the knuckles and reach the knuckles towards the heels as you roll onto the outsides of the biceps and press down through the arms. Weight of the head is relaxed. Find your breath. Feel that connection, that press into all corners of your feet. Nice vertebrae by vertebrae. Roll back into the ground. Happy baby. Peace sign fingers to your big toes or hands to the edges of your feet. Bend the knees out wide so the soles of the feet are shining to the sky. Ankles are above the knees. And as you pull down the frame, you can just take a little rock side to side. Right leg flat out in front of you. Take the left leg straight up in space, grab onto the hamstring, and just give a little roll out through your wrist. Little roll out through the ankle. There we go. And then bend that left knee in towards your shoulder. Let your right hand grab the outside of the left knee and then pull the knee down to your side onto the outside edge of your right hip. Reach your left arm to the left. Gaze out over those fingertips. Letting the weight of the body just relax in this twist and letting that breath move through it. As you come out of the twist, just bring the knees to your chest, wrap your arms around the shins, and give it a nice little rock side to side. And then your left leg flat out in front of you, right leg up in space, grab your hamstring, roll the wrist, roll the ankles, whatever feels good. Just relax the weight of the head. And then you'll take the other side of your twist, so that right knee to your chest, left hand grabs onto the outside of the right knee, pulls down to the left, roll onto the outside edge of your left hip, reach and extend your right arm out to the right, your gaze over towards the right side of the room. Letting the weight of the body just relax. Feel that breath moving through it. And then as we come out of this last twist, roll onto your back, bring your knees into your chest, wrap your arms around, give yourself a little bit of the rock side to side. If there is a pose that we missed that you'd like to grab, this is a great time to grab it. Or if you are ready to go right into that Shavasana, we can start to take ourselves into that final resting pose. Whenever it comes for you, that final resting pose, it's about creating that comfort that we can then relax into with stillness. And it's that big exhale for the body, for the entire being. We're letting the weight of things just relax and hang heavy, the legs and the feet, the hips, the back, the arms and hands, the head heavy to the mat, eyelids relaxed. Letting the body just take back over on the breathing as you just get to float here. nice and slow, just start to bring some life back to your body, moving your fingers and your toes. You can stretch your arms back behind you in space, roll out through the ankles, roll out through the wrists. And then turn the weight of your body onto your side into a fetal position, just curling up and relaxing. This is a great time to take a couple deep rounds of breath. And as we come out of that fetal position, find a cross-legged position or whatever pose you'd like to end class with. If you're on your sit bones, as we get to the front edge of the sit bones, we bring that length into the spine. We roll out through the shoulder heads. You can relax through the weight of your arms and just feel that length coming all the way up through the back of the neck. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether it is clear to you or not, no doubt the universe is unfolding exactly as it should. Thank you so much for coming and being a part of this beautiful practice. The light in me greets the light in you. Namaste. Mosaic Yoga,